Hi everyone. So recently there's been a spate of high-profile attacks that involve identity compromise, and those have been particularly damaging because of the amount of access those users got once that identity was compromised. And so here's a short video on how that blast radius can be reduced. So let's see what happens in a typical attack, right? So what happens is initially one or small number of identities get compromised, maybe through social engineering, through session hijacking or some other means. And what the attacker does is typically laterally moves into a lot of systems that give that person access because of the identity that they have. And this happens because you typically have a permission sprawl based on, the system that is most popular, which is role-based access control, or maybe even attribute-based access control, right? And those systems then give that user access to a lot of resources. This could involve your customer data. This could involve, like tables having customer data, or it could involve your compute instances in your, AWS infrastructure, or, a lot of very damaging stuff, which essentially gives that attacker access to a vast amount of customer data, which can then be, exfiltrated or, denied access through ransomware or, some other commercial compromise that can happen, right? And so how do you mitigate these attacks, right? So what really happened here is that that small number of identities gave that attacker access to a large amount of number of systems, large amount of number of resources, and large amount of data, right? And so containing that permission sprawl is central to reducing the impact of such attacks. And the funny thing is that most of these privileges are rarely needed. So can we actually eliminate all the standing privileges that users have, right? And how you can do that is through this new strategy called continuous access management, right? And with that, let's see what happens in an attack, right? So when a user's identity gets compromised, they only get access to a small number of systems because only those are the ones that they're working on at that particular time, right? And the red arrow show the things that they don't have access to. And so then you really cannot take over any resources because you only have access to a limited number of records in a limited number of tables and stuff like that. And so the customer impact is minimal, if any, because if the user is not working on any particular thing at that particular time, they won't get access to anything, right? And so how this is done is through this strategy of continuous access management. And what it does is it minimizes the blast radius, so there are no standing privileges. And then what we do is, if you see in the diagram below, we continuously ingest data from all the systems of record, like your CRM or HR or your ticketing system, and others. And then you can write human readable policies based on the graph that contains and correlates all this information. And then as these systems request access, that you get permissions are given at the time of access. And so there are no standing privileges in this situation. So if you'd like to know a little more, you can click on this QR code, or I'll put the link in the description, and you can get a live demo of and see continuous access management in action. Thank you.